Welcome to Salt Lake City. I'm Steve.
I'm Derek.
We've been doing a couple episodes on the Glowforge and laser cutters. Last week we talked about some things you might want to consider before you get a laser cutter or Glowforge, and you can actually click a link on that and see that video right here. But today we're assuming you got your Glowforge, you got your laser cutter. What else do I need? What tools do you need? I think the first thing I want to talk about is you need something to cut. If you got a Glowforge, you'll notice there's a bunch of what we call proof grade materials in the box.
The proof grade materials are handy because there's a little QR code on it, and the Glowforge itself's got an eye in it that will scan that QR code, and it'll instantly set up the configuration so that it knows how to etch the material, knows how to cut the material, and it just kind of does everything for you. So it's really convenient. So that's the upside of it. But the downside is that it's super expensive.
And then if you need new material and you're just going proof grade, you've got to order it from Glowforge. And it takes Dan Shapiro and his crew some time to get it to you. So that's just something to consider. Don't be limited to just proof grade materials. You can also go out, go to Home Depot, go to the hobby shop, and start experimenting with materials. The one thing I would say is be careful, check online. We'll again link below. Just make sure that it's safe to cut what you want to cut. Don't be cutting PVC.
Some materials like PVC will release toxic gas. Like PVC vinyl records, when you cut those, it releases chlorine gas. That's not something that you want in your house or your shop or your yard or really anywhere for that matter.
So common things to cut are going to be cardboard, easy material. In fact, if you have a Glowforge, you have a whole lot of it, trust us. Amazon boxes, all great sources to rapid prototype
Cardboard's
stuff.
probably like maybe one of the best places for people to start.
Adam Savage says that cardboard was his gateway drug. It allowed him to start taking a 2D material and make it into a 3D object. So it's a great place to start. It's so cheap if you don't have any, and I feel sad for you. Art supply stores have them in abundance, and it's not expensive. The next thing you want is some sort of masking material. Now, if you got proof grade, it comes with this tape on it already, and the masking is important. We didn't realize how important it was until we actually started throwing material in the laser. What happens is, as the laser hits your material, it's actually, I want to say, vaporizing, destroying the material, and it burns off. And so, especially wood, for example, will get this smoky feel all over it. The masking material keeps that from going over the material that you want to look natural, untouched. When we started experimenting with non-proof grade materials, we went to what most people do, which is painter's tape. It's easy to get a hold of. You want to use painter's tape or masking tape. I like the thicker the better, because it's designed to come right off when you're done with it. One thing you do need to be careful of, and it makes a big difference, is if you're using painter's tape, don't overlap it, just go as close as you can, because that difference of 2 layers of painter's tape versus 1 layer of painter's tape will show up in your final laser cut. So because of that, we moved on to this. This is actually transfer paper. Got this on Amazon, and this is used primarily for decals. Commercial decals. This is what they'll put the decal on when they apply it to your window or your car or whatever it is they're putting the decal on.
I did not actually know that.
Yeah. So we got this. It does exactly the same roll. You peel it off, and then I like to smooth it on nice and tight. And
with like the edge of a credit card or some kind of
credit card or some sort of like rubber tongue or something, just to get it down there nice and tight. You laser cut, and then you pull the stuff right off.
The next material that we were curious about, like almost instantly, was what could we do with the Glowforge with metal? And you can use the Glowforge on metal, as we demonstrated in one of our previous videos.
In fact,
shooting a 45 watt laser at a MacBook Pro. However, it will not cut metal.
And it won't etch bare steel. A couple things you need to do. If you happen to have some sort of anodized or coated steel like this knife, This has a little logo on it, a little Spyderco logo. That's laser etched in there. If there's some sort of material on the steel, it'll take that right off. If you want to do steel that doesn't have a finish on it, there's a special spray, it's called a Ceramark spray. You spray it lightly onto the metal, you put it in the laser, and you laser etch just like you would, and rather than remove material, the laser actually interacts with the spray and adds more carbon to the steel, making a darker mark, and that's pretty permanent as well. So it's a little bit pricey, but we'll link that below. So Derek, I think this next tool is surprisingly one of your favorites.
Yeah, these little detail sanders are one of my earliest memories of tools in general. My grandpa had one of these that was like, it was probably 50 years old when I first handled it when I was 5. So I had no idea what it was. But over the years, these things not only handy for the Glowforge, but just handy for a million other things. There's so much ability for fine detail when using a Glowforge. You need tools that are this precise to really be happy with your final product.
These things are not just a must for the Glowforge, but every maker should have these in their toolbox. The next tool is going to strike fear in your heart once you see it. I'm talking about dental tools.
Kind of a similar idea. When you cut out, like, say for example, if you were etching lettering and you leave little, like the inside of an R or the inside of an A,
and you need to get that out, that masking. It's actually called weeding, as we learned recently. And you pull this out just ever so gently to get this masking material off. You can find them at Harbor Freight. Also, if you already have a Cricut, I know Cricut tools come with them.
Yep.
And my daughter happens to have a Cricut, and so
I think this pack was like $4.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Also, Amazon.
Yeah.
That's where I got my set, because I didn't know that Harbor Freight would have that.
They have
because
everything.
They do have everything. You have everything.
Next up is another ubiquitous tool,
Our old friend,
the X-Acto.
the X-Acto knife or hobby knife. Whatever.
Same sort of thing. Because there's so much ability for really, really fine detail with the Glowforge, it'll cut down to like fractions of a width of a human hair. Having something that is as precise as an X-Acto, as a hobby knife, is really just a must.
If you don't have a hobby knife, get yourself a hobby knife. Better yet, they make these sets that you can get.
Oh, yeah.
That are going to have all sorts of different shapes of blades and handles and all that good stuff. Next one's fun. I feel like a scientist every time I get these out. A set of digital calipers.
What do we use digital calipers for with the...
All sorts of things. One of the reasons you need the caliper is because sometimes you've got a thin material like this wood, and it's really easy. You pop it in there, turn on the Glowforge, you start cutting. No problem. However, sometimes you've got a thicker material, and you actually need to pull the tray out of the Glowforge underneath it, and then you need to say, okay, given the tray's out now where's the height of the cutting material? So a caliper is crucial for that. There's actually 3 ways the calipers measure. There's the measurement here, so you can measure the outside of things. You can measure the interior of a space with this right here, but also, and I think often overlooked, is the depth measurement. You can see exactly how deep something goes with this piece right here. So again, I think these are all
Less than $20.
Yeah, they're real cheap. You can find them on Amazon, home, like anywhere. They have these. Plus, you'll feel really smart using them. I know it looks like we're sponsored by Ryobi, especially if you see the tools behind us.
Wall of tools behind us.
And you will also note, Ryobi, we are open to sponsorships. We'll talk. But this is not just there because of that. It's important to have a saw. And you might ask yourself, why do I need a big old clunky skill saw if I have a fine laser?
Because the materials that you're going to be putting through that laser don't usually come in the dimensions that you need to put into the laser's cut bed.
So, one way to save money is to buy larger bulk materials. So you need to cut them down to the size that will fit in the Glowforge. Now, if you have a Glowforge Pro, like we're lucky enough to have, they'll actually have a pass-through slot, so the materials can be much longer than the bed allows. However, it still doesn't account for width. So having a good saw, a chop saw, a skill saw, something to cut down your materials, that is a must-have.
It doesn't have to be exact, it just needs to be close enough to where you can cut it into an appropriate dimension.
Yep.
So something like this works perfect. Reciprocating saw would work as well. So there's a lot of different ways that you can approach that, but some way to cut larger materials down.
So as you blow off this wood, it goes into dust, it goes into vapor, it goes into smoke, and it coats the inside of your Glowforge. So one thing I will stress, whatever laser you're doing, make sure you keep up on your maintenance. And at the end of the day, when you're done, take a little microfiber cloth, again, super cheap, and just wipe down the inside, vacuum it out occasionally. Do not use this on the optics of the laser, however. Don't. Glowforge actually has a special tool, a little blue, if you wonder what that little blue cylindrical tool is, that's for taking the mirrors out of the laser head. Use what's called Zeiss wipes, or use some sort of electronic cleaning solution to clean that off, because one smudge on those and your laser's useless. So microfiber, some Zeiss wipes, or some electronic material. We'll link all these supplies below. If there's something we missed, let us know. We'll address it, put it in the comments section.
If you have a Glowforge and you have a particular tool or technique that you like to use, then yeah,
go ahead
leave
and
us a comment, let us know, and we'll address it.
And as usual, if there's something you want to see us do on the Glowforge, pipe up. We'll give it a shot.
Until then,
thanks for joining us, and go make something.
Okay.